you know what? We'll start with this. Neither of us knows how to read a calendar. I don't know if you caught that. We last week talked a lot about the Ultimate Fighter coming back as if it was not,
I know, right?
well, today when this episode drops, but tomorrow when we record it.
I
So
know. I'm so
yeah.
disappointed.
Well,
Man.
good work by us.
Hey, Rough
And
Draft Kings.
that's Rough
Brought to
Draft
you by
Kings.
the Pretty Neat Podcast.
This segment of the Rough Draft Kings was sponsored by ESPN Plus, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, ESPN minus.
Yeah, that's right. That is right.
Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Yeah, it's like that, y'all.
It's time for the Pretty Neat Podcast.
It's like that. Come on. Yeah. Come on. It's like that. It's like that.
You can't penalize our excitement.
You can't. You really can't. And everything that I've been seeing leading up to it too, all of the like behind the scenes and tough over the years, the past 20 years, all that stuff is really dope. It also just reminds me how much of a fan of Forrest Griffin I am.
Oh, okay. Well, who isn't?
Jim Carrey, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe Rich Franklin, same reason.
Jim Carrey, come on the Pretty Neat Podcast.
Yes. No, Forrest Griffin is just, I want to work for Forrest Griffin.
Okay. Tell me why.
He just seems like he would be the coolest boss. I think he does something in terms of fighter relations with UFC, if I'm not mistaken. Like he's basically head of fighter relations, correct? Something like that.
With a quick
Call up the Googs.
A quick parsing of his Wikipedia page, it doesn't say. Well,
regardless, he just seems like the type of guy who can communicate not only what he wants in a situation, but can also understand other people's requirements for whatever the trade might be. Like he just seems like a good guy to do business with, and as like a leader, he kind of has that personality that I'm drawn to.
Okay. Do you know my theory on professional athletes' names?
I don't know this theory amongst so many of your others, Dom, but let's go. The Dom Dome is open.
What? Oh, wow.
I'm just with you. What's your theory? I want to know your theory.
Buckle up, boys and girls. Here's my theory on professional athletes' names. You have to sound like someone who's a world champion.
Like the name?
Yep. Your name has to sound like someone who is a world champion. Let me prove it.
Okay.
This Saturday, there's a middleweight fight between Tom Breeze and Antonio Arroyo. Neither of those guys sounds like a champion, so therefore they will not be a champion. Now, Israel Adesanya sounds like a champion.
Piotr Jan. Is that much better than Aljamain?
No. Aljamain Sterling
sorry. Actually,
does
yeah,
sound like a
it
champion.
really does.
That's right. See, you're starting to understand already.
Sterling. Yeah.
John Jones definitely sounds like a champion. Kamaru Usman, Alexander Volkanovski, not so much. Francis Ngannou sounds like a destroyer of worlds. Dustin Poirier, Stipe, Max Holloway, Conor McGregor, Justin Gaethje.
Is not the champion.
No,
we literally just crowned the champion.
Right. I don't mean guys who are current champions. I just mean guys whose names sound like they could be.
Okay. Jose Aldo
sounds like someone who should be a champion. Here's the thing. Jan Blachowicz. He doesn't make the cut. Amanda Nunes sounds like a champion.
You think so?
I do.
Amanda. Okay, sure. Valentina Shevchenko
absolutely sounds like a champion. And this goes across multiple sports too. Michael Jordan sounds like someone who wins at whatever he does.
I think that it is the 2-syllable first name and the 2-syllable last name. And I'm going to beep this next part, but Dominic,
Oh,
that is a champion name.
it's
That is
not because the last name is too difficult.
Your name is not too difficult.
No, it's too difficult. I can't even tell you how many people can't get it right.
Man, I sound like an order you'd fuck up at Chuck E. Cheese. Can I have an Aaron, please? Come on.
Hey, I'm here for Chuck E. Cheese's pizza.
Okay, yeah. Not their though.
What's in it?
Well, okay. Is there currently a fighter in the UFC? We'll limit it to the UFC. Okay, maybe. Okay, fuck that. No limits on this show. There's no limits on the Pretty Neat podcast.
Hey, your favorite American and mine, Kayla Harrison, sounds like a champion.
I do think that sounds like a champion, but arguable on the favorite American part. But
all right,
is there a fighter that you can think of that just does not even have a fighter name?
Oh, sure. Tom Breeze.
You don't think that at least sounds like an athlete? That sounds like
No.
Drew Brees and Tom Brady combined.
Yeah.
It is literally.
I don't like that argument, so I'm just gonna move past
it. Okay.
What was your question? I'm sorry. Pitch it one more time.
Oh,
Here's the thing.
I was just saying, is there a fighter?
You stomped all over my name argument by citing not Tom Brady. Drew Brees is arguable, but he did win a Super Bowl. Fantastic career. Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. So like I said, I don't like that argument, so I'm just going to move past it. What was your first question?
Okay, 15 years of friendship hasn't changed.
Yeah, that's right.
Too much in either one of us. This is okay. Nope. My question was, is there a fighter that just has like a ridiculously not interesting name? Like that just, I mean, you tried Tom Breeze, but clearly we determined that argument is not something you're interested in catering to right now. That's okay.
I'm not here for it. Now, are you asking for current champions or just current fighters?
Doesn't matter. Current fighters.
Yeah, let's do better than Arnold Allen.
Okay, that's pretty shitty.
Oh, hey, number 12 in featherweight, Bryce Mitchell. All right, sure, man.
Bryce Mitchell's a beast, though.
Yeah, of course he is.
2 twisters, man.
The name doesn't fit.
Yeah, it doesn't though. Does that
Tim Elliott and Matt Schnell? No thanks.
Tim Elliott. Come on, that's like a couple of letters away.
No.
This
is literally not in any way, shape, or form a reflection of their fighting. It is only a completely absurd premise that you didn't know we were going to be talking about.
I'm into it. Well, I'm sure we're gonna get into a couple of unknowns because we're doing a mailbag today.
A mailbag.
Yeah, there's no fights.
There are no fights. There were no fights to talk about. No fight.
Yeah.
No fights.
You know what?
Anyway.
Yeah, I would have been excited about tough.
Yeah.
But we don't know how calendars work.
I am still working on the Mayan calendar from 2012. So technically, the world ended and the calendar doesn't matter.
Okay. I'm going to ride that wave with you.
Okay.
I'm going to ride that wave with you.
Do you have a surfboard?
I have a boogie board.
That works.
Yeah, I have a boogie board.
Yeah, okay.
Well, before we do mailbag stuff, because there wasn't fights, but there's some things we can talk about.
Some MMA current events, if you will.
Yeah. Your second favorite American, Ben Rothwell.
Yes.
Compared himself to Derek Lewis, and he's been on his parade of self-indulgence lately. And he basically said he was the white beast and that they are yin and yang, those two, and that he basically called out Derek Lewis if he loses to Ngannou.
Okay.
I want you to tell me how many levels that's wrong on.
Oh, you don't know me at all. If you think I don't love there is nothing I love more than irrational confidence. You and I, we're not going to say, but you and I worked in an industry, in an environment filled with irrational confidence, and arguably the most irrationally confident for quite some time. And now I can see the forest, the trees, and listen, Ben Rothwell, Lewis, book it. Book it.
Book it
Aaron.
now.
Book it now. What are we doing putting Derek Lewis in there in a heavyweight title fight?
He beat the champ,
Who?
Derek Lewis,
You're telling what champ did Derek?
Francis Ngannou.
Whoa, okay, but he wasn't champion when he beat him.
Yeah, I know, but it's still reasonable to have Derek Lewis in there because he is the last person to defeat Francis Ngannou, and now Francis Ngannou is the champ.
Yeah.
So yeah,
no
he's
shame to
earned
Derek
it.
Lewis.
Hey, and listen, it's gonna be in Houston. It's gonna be at Derek Lewis's backyard, and it's gonna be in my backyard. So you
Again?
yeah, they're fighting in Houston in August. I can't wait. It was booked. So, or it's like at least close to booked. So,
Derek
hey,
and Francis.
yeah, if I
Okay.
can get tickets, you could get a plane ticket, buddy.
August?
Yeah. Yeah.
My wheels are spinning.
Hey, I'm gonna keep an eye out for when the sale starts,
Mhm.
and I mean they're still usually available. And in Houston, there might be a lot of availability too, because
All right.
Houston's fucking disgusting in August.
Houston is disgusting all the time.
You know Derek's balls, how hot they are.
That's what he's talking about.
That's just Houston. That's just Houston.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah, what's up?
And it's a little weird because at least according to UFC.com right now, Ben Rothwell is outside the top 15. But who
Mhm.
else do you put in there with Derek Lewis if he loses to Francis? Why
If he-
not? Why not? Just let them punch each other until one of them falls over.
Who?
Derek and Ben Rothwell.
Oh, I think we'll see that, but I don't know. I might. Hey, listen. Wow, I'm gonna have to subject myself to Dom. Okay, I'm gonna subject
Uh-oh.
myself to some domination right now.
Okay. All right. Let's hear it.
I have a lot of hope for Derek Lewis against Francis Ngannou.
Okay.
I do not believe it's outside of the realm of possibilities that he gets him with an uppercut. And I do think that that's the tool. I think that that's the tool to get Francis moving forward, because Francis moves forward straight. If he takes Derek to the ground, it's fucking over. But I don't think Francis wins this by a rock'em sock'em. He already knows that he's too timid, and well, maybe he's not anymore, but 100% of the time that they have fought, Derek Lewis's striking has been intimidating enough to Francis to make him lose. So if he comes forward, I think Derek has an advantage unless he goes forward to the ground.
Okay. I actually don't think it's that crazy because Derek Lewis has freak power and he hits anyone and that's it. The issue that I have is we can say that Derek Lewis beat Francis, but did he beat him or did he just not lose?
Based on the unified rules of MMA, I'll say he beat him because neither of them did shit. Both of them just didn't lose.
What a horrible fight. My goodness.
Worst of all time. Worst of all time.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
No.
But you know what? I will lend credence to the fact that Ben Rothwell versus Derek Lewis is every American's wet dream at a barbecue. I would say I would watch that and have all my buddies over and grill a lot of food.
I think if you're trying to find someone who's new, who's a new spectator, new as a spectator to the sport of MMA, and you put them in front of that fight, you'd want to make it very clear that this is not the best version of this sport. However, this is something someone who has no experience with this can understand, and just watch because one of them is going to punch the other one's face off. And because is it totally crazy to say Ben Rothwell could knock out Derek Lewis? Of course not.
No, it's not crazy.
And on the ground, Ben Rothwell has a serious advantage over Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
So it's not nuts.
No, it's not totally nuts.
No.
But they haven't fought yet, and that's of course very important too. So that's never a bad thing. Hey, I would love to see that fight. You know why? Because I think it would be pretty neat, and I love watching all sorts of fights.
That's a fight whose distance I would want to respect.
Mm-hmm.
but
Here,
it would be pretty neat.
what do you think of Capoeira?
What do you mean? What do I think of him?
Not him. Capoeira, the martial art. The Brazil.
Oh,
It's kind of like dance fighting.
well, it's fairly clear now that I did not know what capoeira is. What do you mean? What do I think of it?
So another fight that was announced that I think is pretty neat, and its distance I respect, as the Ben Rothwell and Derek Lewis,
Mhm.
is Nico Price, Michelle Pereira, and Pereira. I'm
Yep.
never going to be able to fucking do that. As of July 10th, UFC 264, amazing card.
Hey, what else
I
is
am
on?
stoked.
What else is on that card?
Hey, UFC 264. Oh, geez, let me bring it up. I'm
Is that
ill.
who? Oh, you know, who's on that card?
That's Poirier McGregor.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's gonna be a great card. And Gilbert.
Nico Price is first team all body, by the way.
What does that mean?
It means he has an incredible body.
Yes, he does. That's a true thing.
Unlike Ben Rothwell and Derek Lewis.
For what they do with them, they have incredible bodies.
Yes, very true. And actually, there is not a single sport that either of those two would not absolutely demolish both of us at.
Uh-huh.
So
yeah, maybe poker. I think
including maybe not poker, but outside of any video game, ping pong, doesn't matter.
Yep.
And any track and field, basketball, football, baseball, they're professional athletes, and we're just two guys.
Yeah. So here's where I'm excited about this particular fight. Nico Price and Michelle Pereira. Are you familiar with either of them too much?
I am familiar with Nico Price.
Okay, so yeah, I love Nico Price. Nico Price is one of those guys who, to me, throws everything and will accept taking hits to get some in. So like,
that's a dangerous game, but
I'm always into that. It's very dangerous, and he's been knocked out because of it. He's also knocked people out because of it. And Michelle is capoeira, and he, unlike Price throwing everything, throws anything. I mean, you just don't know what the hell is going to come after this guy's body at any point. It's so exciting to watch him fight. Kind of like Yair Rodriguez, but less kickboxer and more fucking dance, more dance moves.
What Tony Ferguson used to be.
What Tony Ferguson used to be. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, so I'm excited about that fight.
Okay. That's a great card. That's a great fight for the undercard.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely the best fight for the undercard. Yeah. What else? What else have you been looking forward to since we've got some other things coming up? Oh, yeah.
What's up?
I was just laughing because I remembered Keith Peterson getting punched in the face. Cage Fury.
No, I'll be honest. I didn't see it. Let's get my live reaction.
Yeah.
And
if you can find it, I tried to find it for
Peterson, okay. If Keith Peterson is the referee I'm thinking of, he is. Here's the thing. I don't like the thing with him and Dominic Cruz.
Uh-huh.
I am notoriously hard on referees. In fact, I think two weeks ago went on a rant about the UFC referees. I like his neck tattoo. I'm not super into him otherwise. Did he get kicked in the face or did he get punched in the face?
He got punched in the head. Yeah. I don't think you'll be able to find it.
Because there's a video of him getting kicked on a takedown. That kind of looks like an older video.
It is older, yeah. Mm-hmm. It was at Cage Fury. I think the only place I saw, maybe Keith Peterson's Twitter.
Let's find it.
But yeah, he was getting down really low because he was observing a choke.
Oh yeah, I see.
And the other guy goes unconscious and punches Keith in the face. I'd put it at like 70%.
That's you're saying the audio is 70%?
No, 70% punching power.
Yeah, that's not 70% punching power. That's just a swipe. I'm gonna call that a swipe.
Hey, that was enough to end a fight with Randy Couture back in the day. I believe he lost to a couple of little swipes, a couple of little cuts there.
No comment. I am very into Max Holloway, Yair Rodriguez.
Oh yeah. What do you think about that? What makes you into it? And besides,
Well,
you can tell by the way it is that it's gonna be pretty neat.
Mostly just the way it is. I am a fan of Max Holloway, and that's all I have to say about it. I'm not ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
And I refuse to not be a fan. So
does that mean that do you believe he wins?
Holloway?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Why? How do you think he wins?
Knockout. Third round.
Knockout, third round.
Mhm.
I don't know. I believe this is going to be a main event of a fight night, probably.
July
I could
17th.
see that.
Yeah.
I could see it. But here's my thing. Yair Rodriguez went 5 rounds with the Korean Zombie and knocked him out in one set with 1 second left. So I feel like he could probably go the distance with Max.
Okay.
You think that Max just doesn't catch him? Or
no,
that
Yair? I think Max is going to catch him.
Gotcha. You don't think Yair catches Max?
I do not.
Max too fast?
I think Max is too fast and too skilled. And I think what we saw in his last fight, against Calvin Kattar, but not so much to do with his opponent. Mm-hmm. I just think we saw him figure something out with the way he was throwing strikes.
Do you think it's the hunger? I felt like the hunger was there.
It's possible. It's also possible, sometimes in life, man, you figure something out. And even though it's a thing you've done and a thing you've done your whole life or for a very long time, however long Max has been striking, not even doing MMA specifically, just striking. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you just kind of figure something out. Maybe it's as simple as the way your thumb turns. Maybe it's as simple as throwing it 1 second or a quarter second earlier or later. But if you look at, so in that fight with Calvin Kattar, he threw 445 strikes. Mm-hmm. Do you know what the second most strikes he had ever thrown in a fight were?
Second most compared to that? How many was in this one?
He either threw or he probably didn't land. This site I'm looking at, shout out UFCstats.com, come on the Pretty Neat podcast. He threw, I'm guessing threw, because if he had landed 445, Kattar's neck would have snapped.
Sure. I'll say 385.
So he threw 445 against Calvin Kattar. The next closest, now granted, this was only a 4-round fight, was 290 against Brian Ortega. Before that, he had never gone above 181, and in most cases, he's at 120 or lower.
Wow. So he's really just been turning it up and turning it up and turning it up.
So to me, unless it was something with the matchup with Calvin Kattar, that significant of a jump in strikes thrown is notable, right? And we're not the first people to say this. We're not breaking news here. In both fights that he lost to Volkanovski, 102 and 134, also 5-round, full 5-round fights. Frankie Edgar, 129, also a full 5-round fight. Dustin Poirier, 181, also a full 5-round fight. So, I mean, we're talking just a massive, massive leap in strikes thrown. And that, to me,
that's the kind of pressure that it's going to need.
It stands out.
It really does. And I mean, with Yair is a guy who sets things up or counters. And I do not believe he'll have time with Max's pressure and his boxing. Because he'll be jabbing and feinting the whole fucking fight. Just the whole time. I would love to see Max rip him to the ground and submit him.
17.8 strikes per minute.
Yeah.
Good luck countering that.
No, that's fucked.
So That to me, it just shows maybe he figured something out.
I think so. Is he the best boxer in the UFC?
I think he probably is. It's either him or one of the Diaz brothers, who it's kind of unclear whether they're actually in the UFC at any given time. But there's been a lot of talk. I think Nick Diaz and freaking Jake Paul, which listen, I'm here for it. Will we do a live fight companion? Yes, because
Hey, Jake
someone,
Paul?
yeah, absolutely.
Well, Jake Paul's booked.
Jake Paul is not booked.
He got
Logan
booked.
Paul.
No.
Who's he fighting?
Jake Paul got booked today with someone I did not put in the notes. Because it's Tyron Woodley is fighting Jake Paul.
What?
It is in
this
the
is
works.
Confirmed.
It's in the works. I read about it today. Hey, confirmed.
Yeah, so Jake Paul,
thing.
That's true. Jake Paul from his Twitter earlier today, fight announcement tomorrow. And The Athletic, which is a legit source, is saying that he and Tyron Woodley have agreed to a boxing match. Okay.
So I know that this is a nice little I'm gonna put a car crash sound effect.
Okay.
You are shocked.
Well,
okay. For the audience listening, Dominic's face looks a lot like that Scream painting. It looks quite a bit like that, except Dom shows more emotion, except without moving at all. Are you okay? I'm concerned.
I am. Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, it didn't freeze.
Okay. So
I'm not happy about this.
Tell me why. I need to process it. I didn't know. I believe it or not, I don't pay that much attention to Jake Paul. So I'm curious to hear why you're not happy about it. And then I'm going to try to formulate my opinion.
Okay. Well, that insinuates that I pay attention to Jake Paul like intentionally. And I don't, but I do pay attention to D-Wood.
Sure.
Because I'm a huge fan of his rap albums.
Yeah, okay.
An enormous fan.
All right.
There's some sarcasm in there.
Just a bit.
Just a bit. I don't know that I want Tyron at where he is in his performances to be the next person after Ben Askren to represent an MMA fighter.
Right.
Against Jake Paul.
Yeah.
But he wants the money. Let's be real. It has to be the money.
Well, that's why Ben Askren did it.
Sure. Do you think Tyron, if he wins, because I don't even know, I can't even speculate on this fight. Is that naive of me? Am I
No,
dumb?
Here's the thing. Now, of the two of us, I am more the boxing guy, right?
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time thinking about boxing and boxing matchups and who I'd like to see fight who. I got to be honest, I don't know who is handling Jake Paul's fight career, but they are doing this very, very intelligently. Because if you remember, and I think we talked about this on episode 1 or 2, if I'm not mistaken, there was talk that Robbie Lawler might be next up after Ben Askren.
And I was quasi fine with that.
Well, Robbie Lawler would knock Jake Paul's head off.
Yes, because he's a fighter.
And also
brawler.
Robbie Lawler is a fairly accomplished boxer, 20 MMA wins by knockout.
Mm-hmm.
20 of his 28.
Mm-hmm.
And only one submission.
What's funny is if you replace Tyron with Kamaru, my opinion completely flips. Which is kind of strange.
Into what?
Into really thinking Kamaru lays out Jake Paul immediately, like Jorge.
Yeah, well, he would.
And I believe he would. But like Tyron has been on this massive skid, and he's that core wrestler.
Correct. Not really a striker. 7 of his 19 total wins by knockout, 5 submissions, and 7 decisions. Only been knocked out twice. Ooh, this is intriguing. I want Tyron Woodley to get the money. Big Tyron Woodley fan.
Mm-hmm.
I
Come on
would
the
like
Pretty
to
Neat
see
podcast.
Tyron Woodley come on the Pretty Neat podcast. We will literally beg you.
Yeah. And I like your music. Please don't beat my ass.
I don't know enough about his music. I just, here's the thing. Now, obviously, Tyron Woodley, a more skilled striker than Jake Paul. And I
Uh-huh.
hope that Tyron Woodley wins, because if he doesn't, then this, as far as public opinion is concerned, really starts to flip what people think of boxing, which I think is very dangerous for the sport. Now, that
Of
is not
MMA or boxing?
no of boxing.
I think of
And
MMA.
well, let me get to that, because I actually think it's in some ways worse for MMA.
I do too.
So for boxing, the issue becomes you have a guy in Jake Paul who, granted, from everything I have seen, read, listened to, he is taking his boxing training very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not doing exhibition fights like his brother is with fucking Floyd Mayweather, which is so ludicrous. I can't even. But the problem is, and here's the thing: people say, "Oh, well, Logan Paul could clip him." Yeah, no, he can't, because that's Floyd Mayweather, and it's an exhibition, and it's 8 rounds, and there's this crazy weight discrepancy, and Logan will swing and miss just like everybody else in Floyd's career, and by round 3, he'll be so tired he can barely stand, and Floyd will turn on the jets, and then it's over. That's the.
Mm-hmm.
It took a few more rounds with Conor McGregor. The difference is Conor McGregor is an actual fighter with an actual boxing background.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, the talk around that now is that Floyd really kind of let him dance for like 6 rounds.
Yeah.
And then as soon as Floyd decided it was over, that was it, because Floyd is probably the greatest boxer who's ever lived. So I think that's next Sunday. I'm not going to watch because
Okay.
I don't want to support it as a
But
sort of an
hey,
outlet. But hey, get your money, and if
But
either of
that-
them want to come on this show, I'm all for it.
hey, you're talking about that being the possibly greatest boxer of all time, fighting in an exhibition fight with a guy whose brother would literally just say, "Hey, I'm just a YouTuber who learned to box and could start taking out real people."
So
Like,
here's the
is
problem.
that how does it damage boxing? I guess because I don't think you really
Because, well, no, I didn't get there. So if listen, if Logan Paul somehow beats Floyd Mayweather, which I would be alarmed, then boxing may as well just pack it in. Now, we all know that's not going to happen. In fact, I wouldn't even be shocked if they already had an agreement in place, right? There's my conspiracy corner for the week, is that they have agreed that Floyd is going to win this fight, whatever, right?
I love the recipe for Dom's conspiracy theories.
Literally all I have to do is think about it and I can come up with a conspiracy. You're welcome. You're welcome, America. So it's bad for boxing because
Does he just make he just makes the boxers look like less of athletes?
yeah, kind of, because most boxers don't starch other professional fighters in 30 seconds like Jake Paul did to Ben Askren. And if you don't know that Ben Askren is literally not a boxer by any definition of the word, and if you
Mhm.
didn't bother to do the research that Ben Askren didn't even really train,
Yeah.
especially train the way Jake Paul did, who, again, I'm not throwing shade at him. He appears to be taking this very seriously,
Yeah.
but I want to see him in there with a real boxer.
Yeah, I do too.
Put him in
I
there
do
with
too.
Badu Jack.
Yeah.
And then, but here's the thing: whoever is helping and advising Jake Paul and booking these fights
Oh my.
is doing this in a very smart way, because they're not going to put him in there with Badu Jack. If you're not familiar with Badu Jack, similar weight class,
Sure.
right around the 185 to
Sure.
200 mark that Jake could get to.
Yeah.
Very, very skilled fighter, not a champion, but he's always kind of in the top 3 to 5 in his weight class. He fights for the money team. He's a Floyd Mayweather promotions guy. And Badu Jack would absolutely. I mean, the thing is, though, the other side of this, and we've talked about this, I think, on the show, no state athletic commission is going to let Badu Jack and Jake Paul fight in a real fight. In fact, the Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather fight is an exhibition for that very reason. The Nevada State, California State, I don't know where I think the Floyd Mayweather fight is in Miami. Even the Florida State Athletic Commission will not sanction it because Logan Paul is not a boxer, he's a YouTuber. So
yeah, it makes sense.
So
it makes sense.
It's bad for MMA because if Tyron Woodley loses,
he's a former champ.
Yeah, and frankly, first team all body, he looks like someone who could kill anyone he's in a room with. And here's the thing, he could, right? Because you just wrestle him to the ground and hold him there. But
but you can't do that in a boxing match.
You can't do that in a boxing match, and it's a risk because if he loses, that is a huge, huge mark on UFC's record.
Oh, huge. And like Tyron's fingertips are filled with NyQuil. They could put me right to sleep. Okay?
Correct.
But he's not a boxer. And like in MMA, I've always held wrestlers at the top for the reason being that I said they can hold, if they can put you on the ground and hold you there, they can win the fight.
Yep.
And then behind boxers, I usually put jiu-jitsu and striking is kind of in the bottom. But here's the thing, is a really skilled striker is dangerous against anybody, and boxers only strike, and they only strike with 2 weapons.
Yep.
And that's it. They're not even thinking about the legs.
No.
So I mean, you're talking about somebody in Paul who's only been training to use these 2 weapons, and that's it. And Tyron, who's an MMA fighter, a former wrestler turned MMA fighter, trying boxing. It's a recipe for shitstorm. And like, now this guy can run his mouth even more saying he beat a UFC champion, and a long reigning one at that. Like, not even just a meager one-time champ, like win the belt and lose. Somebody who held it. That's fucked up. And I mean, it wouldn't even matter that he burned, that Tyron kind of slowed down. Like, it would just be really crappy. It would just be really, really crappy. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I want to talk about a fight that excites me.
Well, see, this one kind of does excite me, and I'm going to be pulling for Tyron Woodley, and frankly,
I will too. Oh, so hard.
Now, I know they haven't announced a date or anything, or even officially announced the fight until apparently tomorrow, June 1st. Or today, if you're listening to this on the day it drops, every Tuesday. Shameless plug. And frankly, if you're listening at this point, like, when the show comes out. So,
well, we're working on even more ways to get out there too.
That's right. If Tyron Woodley has 8 or 12 weeks to prepare and really prepares in a boxing gym with real boxing coaches, and then it's hard for me to think Jake Paul's gonna win.
I'm in the same boat. And Tyron has to have seen what happened to Ben Askren. And no, he's not Ben Askren.
They're buddies though, right? Training partners?
Hey, if they are, I'd say that's even more power to them.
I'm pretty sure they are.
If Paul just goes on this reign of terror, though, and just starts literally beating everybody, I don't know what I'm going to do. When do you jump on the train? When does that happen? Does that ever happen for you?
Yeah, when he fights. I'm already a fan. Anybody who can sort of turn a webcam and a YouTube channel into money, I'm all for.
Hey, right? Speaking of which, make sure you follow us on YouTube. We are on YouTube. That's true. You can find us there. Just look for the Pretty Neat Podcast.
So I guess to wrap up my thoughts on this, I become a Jake Paul bully. I'm already a fan, right? He's turned something.
You're a fan.
I support what he does. Put him in there with someone who's sort of the UFC fight sports world agrees is a real striker, and see how he does.
Hey, throw Diaz at him, and
put Nick Diaz in there.
And I would love to see that. I would buy that pay-per-view.
That's the type of fight that I think would, because you have to level set, right? You have to reset some expectations with this.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think people saw, and my younger brother's one of them. my younger brother was saying, "Oh, well, but he beat Ben Askren." Like, and I was like, "Dude, had you ever heard of Ben Askren before this?" And he
Yeah.
was like, "No," and I'm like, "Right." That's why they put him in there with him.
Yeah.
It,
Oh well, I
I
mean,
don't
we
know.
knew what was going to happen with that fight.
Put him in there with Jorge Masvidal.
Fine with that. But
Jake
I
Paul,
have
Jorge Masvidal.
Jorge Masvidal. We already have plans for
We do, but
Tony Ferguson.
He wouldn't. That's right. He wouldn't need a whole lot with Jake Paul though, because
That's
that
true.
fight would be over in 11 seconds. But here's
That's
the thing:
true.
Jake Paul's people aren't going to let him do that,
No, that's true.
and they shouldn't.
They're friends.
Right?
They're friends.
They shouldn't. Everyone's friends until the bell rings.
Yeah,
All right.
or if you're
Hey,
offered $50-100 million.
That's true. Before we get into the mailbag, Michael Chandler wants Justin Gaethje. What do you think?
I'm for it.
Yeah,
100%.
Me too.
Great fight. Who
Mhm.
wins?
I don't know.
I'm going to say Gaethje.
Okay, see, I want to lean Chandler, but I'm struggling with this because Michael Chandler he's edging into that realm of a fighter that I'm a fan of, to where I don't want to see him fight because I don't want him to lose. Right? Like, I want Stipe to retire. I did not want him to fight Francis. We talked about this a couple weeks ago because I need Stipe's brain to work because I like him.
Okay.
Michael
yeah.
Chandler, it's like, dude, your ears are going to fall off any second. So
they look like they're going to float away with him.
Be very careful with Justin Gaethje if you're Michael Chandler, but I want to lean Chandler. I will be very, very interested to see the odds on that fight.
I would be too, actually.
I don't know. I mean, they don't have them yet, of course, but
yeah. Okay.
You know, speaking of odds, Connor is favored against Dustin Poirier.
Really?
Yeah, minus 115 to minus 105.
I didn't see those odds.
Yep. I looked him up yesterday, and he is a minus 115 favorite. So your $100 bet wins you 85. Poirier is minus 105. So your $100 bet wins you 95, which means Vegas thinks that Connor's going to win.
Do you?
I do. I think we talked about this. I do. And we'll talk more about it. We'll do our picks and get our bets. I do think Connor's going to win.
I think there's a really good chance. Yeah.
And there was a real good, he nearly won this most recent fight. We don't need to rehash all of it, but
you're right. We don't. We've got mail. Can you believe it, y'all? Everyone,
like Tom Cruise in 1994's You've Got Mail, where he dates a bookstore shop girl.
That was one of my favorite movies. I want to. Never mind. I don't know.
Who is that with him? Is that Meg Ryan?
Probably.
Who would you rather bone, Jack Nicholson or Meg Ryan?
Who do I have to be?
Who would you rather bone? No, you're you. Jack Nicholson or Meg Ryan?
Meg Ryan.
See, the question is Jack Nicholson now or 1974?
Meg Ryan.
Meg Ryan.
Why is this a question?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well,
I'm going to read the first question.
Okay.
I'm going to read the first question.
I have not seen these.
No, you have not.
I can't.
I've only been able to basically see that they were there, and that was kind of tried to where I left it. My dudes, MMA scoring has been hotly debated, and for a good reason. Some recent scorecards from judges have been head scratchers. I think this is a pretty neat opportunity.
Hey, shout out.
Yeah, we like you to evaluate options for change, whether it be open scoring, 100-point or less per round scoring system, remote scoring, or larger panels. How would Aaron and Dom fix scoring? Appreciate the perspective. So,
you go first.
Oh, geez. I am for a 5-judge panel.
Okay.
2 of which are remote viewing on monitors, 3 of which are live.
Okay.
I am for the 10-point system.
I think a 100-point system is absurd.
Yeah, it might be a little bit too tough.
No shade at the listener who sent in this email. I don't mean it's a bad idea you had. I know people have kicked that around.
Yeah.
I just think 100 points is way.
Yeah. Hey, that could be
many.
a typo, you know?
It could be. But also, soccer was explained to me this way one time. I was sort of ranting about it, and the person I was arguing with said, but here's the thing, 2-1 is really like 20-10 in basketball. And I was like,
Okay.
oh, that's a really good point. And so when you
Okay.
think about the 10-point system that way, it's all scaled, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm totally with you on the 5-judge system, 2 of them being either, you know, in a quiet room or something not impacted by the crowd or the
Sure.
corners or the
Yeah, no
commentators or
corners.
whoever.
I would
Yeah.
even say that the fight is muted. I would even say that the
Yeah,
fight
yeah,
is
yeah.
muted.
Absolutely. You could totally talk me into that. You
Yeah.
know, one of the things about the fight nights at the Apex Center that I love is that you can hear so much.
Mm-hmm.
But when I go to a live sporting event, when I go to a baseball game or a football game or a basketball game, one thing I love is what happens in between stretches of the game and like warm-ups. I went to
Uh-huh.
a Rams Cardinals game in Arizona, Thanksgiving time 2019. And we were there about 35 minutes early and we got to watch the teams warm up and I was fascinated by it. And
Oh, heck
so
yeah.
so seeing everything that happens to me is a valuable bit of information when it comes to winning. I'll tell you a quick
But not
story.
to
This is
judging?
not to judging, but here's the thing. So I was at a
Okay.
Lakers Spurs game once
Mm-hmm.
at Staples Center with my brother. We had pretty decent seats, and the Lakers were terrible at the time. The Lakers were terrible.
Okay.
The Spurs were pretty good, not great. And during timeouts, the entire Spurs team was centered around their coach, listening, or whichever coach was talking, because sometimes it would be an assistant or even a player. Everybody on the team, whether they were in the game or not, or had been in the game or were never going to get in the game, were centered in one small group listening to the coach.
Mm-hmm.
The Lakers had their players, maybe the 5 guys in the game and the other 2 guys who had been in the rotation listening, and everybody else was just sort of milling about. And after about the second or third timeout where I saw that happen, I looked at my brother and I said, look how these timeouts are going. And the Lakers got run off the court in that game. I think they were down by 30, like in the second quarter.
Sure.
So,
oh, I agree that.
And here's the thing: the Spurs had better players, but it also speaks to an organizational, like institutional thing. And so I think when you have a corner, and I'm gonna swing this all the way back to MMA. And I always get this guy mixed up because I do this with some MMA fighters, but Kevin Holland.
Sure.
Hey, Kevin Holland, stop yelling at Khabib on the sidelines. Stop talking to Dana White and your coaches and the ref and the ringside girls and all these people. Stop doing that.
Hey, I'm all for it if he wins. I'm all for it if he wins.
But here's the thing. How many champions do that?
None. If he was the first, it would be amazing.
Would it? But
sure.
Yeah, and why is he on a 2-fight losing streak and 14th in his division?
Because he's doing what you're saying.
Well, sure. Even Conor McGregor, for all of the sort of bravado that he displays, is exceptionally disciplined in the cage.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
So that's one of my things. I've talked about this on this show before. I've talked about this with friends and family members and people I've watched fights with. And I don't like Conor. He's so arrogant. Yeah, you got to watch him fight though, because that's a show. And in the cage, he's a different guy. So the judges could be influenced by that, right?
They can, and they can be influenced by the corners.
Absolutely,
you know, a shitty, crappy shot that's just a slap that's loud but doesn't do damage. They'll be like, "Yeah!"
Right.
You know, stuff like that, or like yelling about grabbing the cage.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things. I like the points as well in this if it's a 10, because then it's 50 points per round in a 3-round fight,
right?
In a 5-round fight, obviously. So
no, it's 20. It's 25. If there's 5 judges, it's 25.
What?
Oh wait, no. Sorry, you said 50 points. Are you talking about
per round? If it's a 10-point system and 10 points to the winner, Each round they'd get 50 points because there's
That
5
is-
judges.
That is how math works. You are correct. I don't do math or calendars. Go ahead.
I know you teach history. Wait, no, I didn't. You
no,
teach
I don't.
everything.
I actually teach math.
Rough Draft Kings.
Rough Draft
Official
Kings.
sponsor of the Pretty
That's
Neat
right.
Podcast. No, I'm just fucking with you. You're an amazing teacher. Oh God. 50
How
points
many
for
days of school left? 4? Go ahead.
50 points around. That's pretty smooth.
Yep.
So I mean, that's not too difficult.
But it's not 10. No, it is. Why am I confused with this? Because you score around
It's a lot of
10-9, but you don't score at 50-45. That's why I'm confused.
It would be, and that's why it's confusing.
But
Because
it wouldn't,
50-45,
though, because
it would be if you combine all the scorecards.
at the end of the but then it would be
You're confused because
50 times 5. It'd be 250 points
for a 5-round fight.
for a 5-round fight.
Yeah, well, right now a 5-round fight is 50-45, and that's why it
Yes.
sounds weird.
Right.
Because
That's what's confusing me.
It's really weird to say that a 50-45 is a full 5-round fight right now, and in the future a 50-45 would be a first round. That's
Yes.
weird.
That's where I got the 25, because I was thinking, no, you don't add them all together as you go round by round. But we don't have open scoring, which was the next point I wanted to talk about. So we do that.
Yeah, and here's
Yeah.
the thing too, it can make scores more interesting as well, because say you have like a 48-47 in the first and a 50-45 in the second, and then like a 49-46 in the third, and like
Mhm.
it could be all fucking ass backwards. And
Yeah.
I don't know if MMA judges can do that kind of math now with
It
with
Certainly
judges.
seems like they can't. So here's something that our listener didn't mention that I like the open scoring. I think sunlight is the great disinfectant.
I do.
I think we should be able to see it round by round,
like
because like on the screen
like
while I'm
PFL.
watching, like PFL does, or maybe a slightly different version. I'm not sure what it would functionally look like.
Oh, it's great. Just in between rounds, usually about 30 seconds into the 1 minute between rounds. Usually they pop up the score on the screen.
Yeah,
So fighters
yeah.
can see it, they report it. And it's not even speculative. It is the judges' scorecards.
Yes. Okay.
It's
And so I think
fantastic.
I even think there's something to letting the fighters see it.
Yeah. It got their asses going.
Yeah. The other side, and in jiu-jitsu tournaments, they'll do that where maybe they'll have no time limit. So you have to get a submission because they want it to move along. Because if there is, say, a 10-minute round time limit and somebody knows they've won on points, they'll just hold the person down for 6 minutes and there's no movement.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless the referee gets them moving, but it doesn't always go that way. So I think open scoring 5 rounds, or open scoring 5 judges rather. And I think 2 things, and you tell me what
Mhm.
you think. One, we either need true UFC or MMA, right?
Yeah.
But if we're specifically talking about the UFC,
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
what am I going to say?
That we need actual MMA certified judges by the state athletic commissions, right?
Correct.
MMA.
And people that maybe the UFC and 1FC and PFL and these organizations sort of get together and co-opt it, and they all pull from the same pool of people.
Mm-hmm.
But there has to be some level of certification, and now boxing needs this too, don't get me wrong. Now the issue I guess becomes when there are international fights on Fight Island or whatever.
The
but
specificity though is needed because
It
there's
is
so
needed.
many. It's an onion of a sport. There's just too many layers. There's just too many layers.
There are so many layers, and that's why you need people who are not boxing officials but MMA officials specifically, trained and certified with some sort of experience somewhere in it. Now here's the other side of that, and I'm curious to hear what you think, and there are a lot of issues with it. But you see this in grappling tournaments, you see this in jiu-jitsu tournaments, karate tournaments. There's a point system, right?
Yeah.
A very clear point system. Not, I think the winner of the round gets 10 and the loser of the round gets 9, and Maybe they get 8 if they got dropped a couple times, and maybe they get 7 if they get dropped twice and knocked down or taken down or whatever, right? But like in a jiu-jitsu tournament, there's very specific rules. You get a point for passing the guard, you get a point for getting to full mount, you get a point for
Hey, yeah, maybe that's what you got to adopt in there too. And I mean, there could be a certain way to measure points with a number of significant strikes landed, etc. A center of octagon control, and you could do that mathematically. You know, you
we
can
could
do
use
that
a camera
with
to do
sensors.
that.
Yeah,
exactly. That
and if
wouldn't
you're
have to
in
be
the
an opinion.
and if you really put a lot of value on that maintaining control of the octagon, which I believe MMA is simply capture the flag or king of the hill, like it really is, and if you really put value on keeping it in the center of the octagon, you'll see a lot of action because you'll want to get off the fence and get away from the fence and maintain that position. I think it would be way more exciting.
You know, one thing NBA teams use now that they've been using for a number of years, and forgive me, I forget the name of it. Players have a sensor, or at least they started with sensors. I don't even think they need them anymore, but they had a sensor in their shoe.
Oh yeah,
and a set of cameras mounted above the court and on the sides, and the sensors tracked movement and where the basketball was. It shows, and you can see videos of this on ESPN if you're interested. And it represents each player as a dot, and it removes it removes their name, and so you can see how much movement they did, how much running they did. Like they can tell you which player in the NBA ran the most. How often they had the ball, how much they held the ball, and it removes names, so it takes out bias.
Yeah.
Right? Because you might say, oh, Steph Curry is obviously better than this player, but if we put this lens on it.
Hey, and in the octagon, you could do that maybe with something in the trunks where it's red-blue sensor, you know, and if it's in the middle of the octagon, red is got a timer going, and if it switches, then blue
and
has a timer going, and it's whoever's closest to the center.
Yeah, or you could even be more specific than
that
and say, well, you can tell who's on top by watching, but sometimes someone in the center of the ring isn't actually controlling the ring.
And whoever's on top isn't always in control too.
That's true.
So yeah, that's tough.
Maybe it's center of the ring and moving forward. That's how you judge ring control. There's something.
Well, you could also say defending the center. Like defending the center could be a part of that measurement, where if you are in or closest to the middle and you're actively keeping the other person away from the middle, like a Spartan shield lineup.
Absolutely.
That should be measured as control. But then again, the person on the outside might be throwing more strikes and might be hitting them more.
But this is still
might
MMA,
be leg kicking them to death, but you have to
knockout
control the
still
middle.
Wins, right? That's what we're talking about. One element.
Yeah.
You know, and I think we've talked about CompuBox before, right? CompuBox is a stat that every boxing broadcast uses, but the judges don't use it, and I've never understood why. I guess there are questions about the accuracy of it, but I don't know. It's pretty damn accurate.
There's some wiggle room to take out the human eye from the measurements. I think that we have the ability, you know, in baseball, a home run is clear. In football,
not always.
Okay, that's a bad example. Well, either way, I'm just saying more clear than a decision in MMA, like
much more clear,
or a touchdown in football, like whatever. It's just there's a clear.
But why is it more clear though? Even in baseball, why is it more clear?
We determined a numerical value to something. In this case, the yardage that must be exceeded. You have to move this 100 yards past this point in order to achieve this score. And you could do the same thing with striking. Or ground control time.
Yeah, you can. But if there's controversy, what do they do in baseball, in basketball, in football?
Review.
Video review.
Yeah.
Why doesn't MMA have that?
They're getting there. They're getting there.
That's true. It's getting
certain states now can pause the fight. Say if a nut shot happened and the ref missed it, or an eye poke. In certain states, they can do that now, and that's awesome.
Yep.
But hey, I love that question took us down that hole, and I think
what a fantastic question.
And you know what? We're gonna definitely probably talk about that more because I'm sure there's gonna be shit that happens that we need to get fucking riled up about.
Always.
Let's go to the next one. Do you want to
Let's hear
read
it.
it or should I?
No, go ahead.
Okay. If Derek v. Francis is the next heavyweight title, I think that's just
Yeah,
supposed to be
no,
fight.
title tilt. That's a word for fight.
I've never heard it called a
Oh
tilt.
yeah, you see it in boxing more.
Oh, okay. If it's the next title tilt and they do it in Houston in in front of a packed crowd, does Derek still get his lights put out in round 1 by Francis? Or do you believe the home crowd advantage has a factor? Let's answer that. There's a second question. So we're gonna this is a 1-2 combo in this question.
Okay.
Well, we already kind of talked about this.
Yeah.
I do think Francis wins this fight.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think Derek has a very serious uppercut, and I've
Yep.
seen a very big trend of uppercuts working in every weight class. And every now and then it's like it's the calf kick, it's this move, whatever. There's a move that takes off, and right now the biggest hole I'm seeing in everyone's game is uppercuts, and the people who are throwing them are the ones who are catching right now. That's my
Yeah.
weird thing. I'm gonna guess that in the next UFC event, there'll be at least one uppercut leading to a knockout, and in the next 2, we're gonna see a bunch. I just
Okay.
think it's a thing. But anyway,
Nah,
I
I'm
do
with you on
think
that.
I do think hometown is important for Derek.
You
Does it
do.
give? I don't think it gives him an advantage, but I
Okay.
think it will be way more exciting as a result. I don't think he'll be as lax as he was the first time he fought Ngannou. I think he'll be willing to
That
throw
wasn't in an
down.
empty stadium, but okay.
This isn't going to be an empty stadium either.
No, I know.
So I think that this will be a good one.
So there's a reason that truly the oldest sport is like gladiator fighting, right? This is the biggest man we can find in a lion fighting in Rome at the Colosseum. These are the 2 biggest guys, and they're going to punch each other until the king waves his hand or one of them dies. This is Derek Lewis and Francis, right? That's what this is. And I'm here for it. I do think Francis wins. I think he'll be the favorite, and I think he should be. Does he turn his lights out in the first round? That really depends on how disciplined Derek is, because I think we saw a disciplined Francis against Stipe, but does Francis overlook Derek Lewis?
Hey, we saw a disciplined Derek against Blades.
We did. Derek takes a hit, though. He takes a punch. He gets hit.
Okay. We're going to see a double knockout. We're seeing a double knockout.
We could see a double knockout. If there's going to be a fight that's going to provide it, it's going to be this one.
It's going to be one of those fucking haymakers and an uppercut just at the same time, over, both lights out. Francis' body falls on top of Derek's, and it's the greatest moment in MMA history. And you know what?
Stipe, because it always comes back to him for me, who did have a quote about taking his title back over this past week. I don't know if you saw that. Stipe has lights out power too, but not quite like Derek Lewis. And yeah, it's just hard for me to see anyone but John Jones beating Francis right now. We're not going to go down that road.
That's okay. Well,
but like we talked about at the top of the show, I do think that Derek Lewis could beat him. It's not. If that happened, I wouldn't like fall off my couch in shock.
I wouldn't either. I would probably consider driving 3 hours to Houston. I would
for
probably
the after party
for the entire. I would move.
Okay. Okay.
I would move to where the king of the world lives. But hey, we answered the first question. So part 2.
Okay.
Also, do you think John Jones is secretly hoping Derek pulls off the upset for contract leverage?
No.
No.
Not at all. No.
You don't think he wants to fight Lewis, huh?
I think John Jones wants to fight Francis or Derek Lewis or Stipe or whoever, as long as the money is right.
I have a theory on that. Guess what? Aaron has a theory this time.
Okay.
So you heard who John Jones nabbed, right, for representation?
No.
Do you know who Richard Schaefer is?
No.
Former CEO of Golden Boy.
Okay, I have a thought on that. I need you to pause for 1 second, and then I will share them.
Feel free, pause. On June 6th, I really wish I could go to the Shamrock Irish Pub because game night is live, and That would be awesome.
Game night is awesome. Shout out game night.
Glad you could hear me recording the commercial while you were gone.
So
My theory is just this is okay now, and this is only because Dana White and Schaefer are close. They know each other and they've worked together a lot. My theory is that John Jones
and Schaefer worked for Golden Boy.
he was the CEO, yeah. Like
Okay.
he's the head honcho.
For if for some reason
Not
you are
MMA,
listening-
boxing.
No, yeah. Well, that's what I was gonna say. If for some reason you are unfamiliar with Golden Boy Promotions, that's Oscar De La Hoya's boxing promotion. I'm gonna be honest, I don't have a lot of positive things to say about them. I don't have a lot of positive things to say about any boxing promoter because they're all fucking morons, but carry on.
No, yeah. According to Dana White, they have a really, really good relationship when it comes to just getting shit done.
Okay, Dana White, not a fucking moron, so carry on.
Yeah. And that they have that type of relationship. But in so doing, he talked about how, if John Jones goes, he goes and he goes out on top, whatever. I'm good at working with this guy. So here's my theory. My theory is that they're setting up to do the John Jones fight if he beats if Ngannou beats Derek Lewis. He's got to do that first. That goes without saying. That just has to happen. I think that they're setting up a big enough fight that it won't matter if John Jones gets knocked out. I mean, that's first of all. They're protecting him for if he destroys his entire career by just getting flatlined in 10 seconds, right?
Okay, you really think John Jones gets flatlined in 10 seconds?
I don't think it's impossible against Ngannou.
Okay, fair.
I just don't.
Yeah, that's anyone. Sure.
I think that this fight happens in Africa.
Whoa!
And I think that this is the biggest card in UFC history, and that it's going to have 3 African champions defending, and that it will be the largest moneymaker ever in MMA.
Yeah.
And that is why this guy is being brought in by John Jones, because I don't think John Jones necessarily was thinking this is going to be the next Rumble in the Jungle.
Oh, I love that you mentioned that.
But it is. And he's protecting himself from being Foreman. That's it. Is that he's going in there being the biggest, the pound for pound GOAT. He is going in there as the GOAT. Just like, and people thought Foreman was going to win. And then when he was getting his dope roped, like he was kind of winning. Like it kind of winning. What am I saying? Muhammad Ali just got punched for 11 rounds.
Yeah.
And so like until he annihilated him.
Yep.
So like I think they're setting up a massive Africa card that is big enough that a huge majority of the people in the crowd of 150,000, that is how big I'm thinking. Bigger, not including the 500,000 outside of the venue.
Yep.
Is that the tickets will be insane. 5,000 for the nosebleeds, with the exception for the locals that are going to be there, which they're going to invite.
So okay, so I love everything you're saying. I want to
have to make the money. They have to make the money, and it'll be the biggest pay-per-view ever done.
For MMA, yes.
For MMA.
So, is John Jones secretly ducking Francis? Is he afraid of Francis? The answer to that is a capital N no.
Okay.
John Jones is not afraid of anyone. John Jones is the very best fighter who's ever lived, and he knows it. That comes with a certain degree of confidence. Trust me. LeBron James is not laying awake at night trying to figure out how to beat Chris Paul. That's a hyper timed reference for anyone who's listening to this 3 weeks from the day we're recording it. But there is a level of greatness where certain people in different sports are not worried about their opponent. Doesn't mean John can't lose, but I promise you he is not ducking Francis. He's never ducked anyone. There's no evidence for it. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Hey, I don't necessarily think he's ducking him for combat reasons if there's ducking involved. I think it would just be monetary and in terms of draw power.
So John's not getting in the cage if the number's right. Not right.
Yeah, rather. And I don't think it would be
correct
with Derek unless Derek beats Francis.
No, even if Derek Lewis isn't the draw, because frankly, the reason that Francis is the draw. Yes. The reason Francis is the draw that he is because Francis and Derek Lewis have comparable knockout power.
Mm-hmm.
Francis looks like somebody who the ancient Romans would have chiseled into a statue. And Derek Lewis looks like a guy who would either be in an MMA fight, a UFC title fight, a backyard brawl, or a bar fight. And he doesn't care which, right?
Is he getting paid?
Because he's getting paid. So that to me is why Derek Lewis is not as big of a draw, because if let's say you're not, right, and I hate to burst your bubble,
But
I
you're not.
don't
You're
think-
proving my point.
but I don't think 150,000 people in Africa go to this fight,
Oh, I do.
even with the world the way it is right now.
Okay, I would say. Well, I think that this fight would not happen this year. I think that this fight,
Sure.
if it did,
Maybe
it would be
springtime
December.
next
I
year.
would think spring
Yeah.
next year.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I think that the arena itself would, probably be 100.
Yes,
and
they
I
use a
think-
soccer stadium.
And
or
I
something,
think
for
that
sure,
a
yeah.
good 50,000 of those people come from out of the country.
Definitely.
And
I
some of
don't
and if they
know-
don't do it in Africa, they do it in Dubai. They don't do it in the US.
sure.
I don't see it in Vegas.
I can understand that. I can because 20,000 is not enough, is what you're saying.
Nope.
Well, so like Anthony Joshua has fought at Wembley a couple times in London and had about 120,000 there.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is I don't know that MMA has the breadth, BREADTH, that's your word of the day, the breadth of a fan base to have a draw like that. I do think the pay-per-view will sell more than any other. But
I think they'd get that people. I think they'd get those people.
I hope that they do, and it wouldn't shock me.
After
and-
seeing the footage of the Cameroonian people like reacting to Francis
Mm-hmm.
becoming the champ, like people would travel days
Sure.
to go to
Sure.
that fight, even if they don't have tickets. And those are numbers I'm including. I'm
Okay,
just
I
saying it would be huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be huge wherever it happens. We don't, so the issue is even the biggest outdoor arenas I think the biggest we have here is Dallas, where the Cowboys play. And I
Hey, and that
think,
was Canelo, right? 55,000?
I know 70.
70.
Is it Lambeau Field that can there's a couple of college football stadiums that can get up there. I think the new Rams stadium, SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, can get pretty high up there, max capacity. So I wouldn't even be shocked to see it somewhere like that. If it is going to be stateside, it won't be at the T-Mobile Arena, because they can sell more than 18,000 tickets, right?
Yeah. Hey,
That's an interesting idea. To answer the question again, John's not ducking anyone, but
yeah,
he's not getting in the cage if the money's not right, and that doesn't mean he's ducking Francis.
okay.
All right.
I'm in.
Good questions.
Onward.
We have
to
more?
the- yes.
Okay, good.
Super
It's not
duper,
Wednesday, but all right.
super duper handicapper scenario.
Okay.
Aaron versus Dominic.
Okay.
Considering Dominic trains Muay Thai and BJJ,
Uh-huh.
what advantages would Aaron need, if any, to win this fight? Inquiring minds must know, Mr. D. Mr. D is a Mr. E.
I don't know how to answer that question, because I don't even want to think about it.
You don't want to think about fighting your friend?
No. What do you
Okay.
think?
Okay.
Is it
We're-
just assumed that I would win? I don't know. I've never I don't actually like fight. I just train.
Okay, we are at a disadvantage here because something about the other series, other super duper handicappers, is we have seen them fight. So
Mhm.
we know what kind of handicappers to apply, and we have not
Mhm.
seen each other fight. So I think the only thing we can do appropriately is say this is a heavy sparring MMA match.
Okay.
I would say first round would go poorly for me and end up with me being asleep from a choke, most likely,
Okay.
because I would not know how to avoid your takedowns. I don't have experience wrestling.
Okay.
You're 3 to 4 inches taller than me.
Mm-hmm.
I think you definitely would have a reach advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So even with my jabs, which are far more orthodox, like super basic, I am not good at extending. So like
Okay.
you'd take me down and choke me out. That's how I'd see this fight go.
Well, I need you to know something, okay?
Okay.
I need you to know something.
I'm gonna know something.
My head never stops moving. So I don't care about your jab. No, I'm teasing. I mean, here's the deal. To the best of my knowledge, you have not done any jujitsu training. Is that correct?
Correct.
If I get you on the ground, you're going to have real trouble because you've never done any training. It's not that I'm super skilled. I'm not.
Okay.
But if I get a hold of you and you have no background or understanding of how it works, you're probably going to have a rough time.
Okay. Well, I'm lucky because the first handicapper
All
is
right.
that you ate Jack in the Box the night before, and now you have diarrhea.
That doesn't affect me at all.
Damn it. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's disgusting.
That's
for me.
actually a
Fuck.
disadvantage for you.
Okay. Well then new handicapper for you then.
Uh-huh.
You have to be wearing cross-country skis.
Yeah, then it's all you. Because here's the thing. I have been training jiu-jitsu for like 6
Really?
months. Mm-hmm.
You don't think
Here's the thing. No, I am not. I don't want to misrepresent myself here because it actually is important to me.
Okay.
I train jujitsu when I'm coming off of an injury, but to my head. But when I'm healthy, I train jujitsu 2, sometimes 3 times a week. I mix in live rolls one of those times where you're actually competing, not just drilling. So I'm not good at jujitsu. I'm a white belt. I'm not close to getting up to blue belt. I'm still probably a year and a half away from that. I've kicked around competing in a couple of months if I can get my head to where it needs to be to where I can get back and train. So I don't want to misrepresent myself at all. But I have learned a lot in the time that I've been there. So with someone who has no ability whatsoever, or not no ability rather, but no training or experience doing something like jujitsu,
Yeah, I think I could
it's
probably
just anyone is gonna have
I
rough go.
I would stay on your outside and I would learn calf kicks and I would probably throw one at your head here and there and fall on my ass.
I guess my point really though, because I've never really had someone try to kick me in the calves, I don't know what I would do. Because even in Muay Thai, we don't do a lot of calf kicks. It's more body and like head kicks.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be
the Jack in the Box is not a hindrance for me. The skis though, and really where I'm gonna have trouble in the super duper handicapper is any disadvantage. I am immediate. Everything about everything I want to do changes. So I lose a lot of confidence. Is really what I'm saying.
Okay, so let's do this because I think this was fun. Is in the super duper handicapper fight, this fight, I would probably beat you at round 2 if you had to wear cross-country skis.
Cross-country skis.
And I would do it by going after your legs, hoping you wouldn't catch one.
Yeah,
and then I would go after your head from time to time. And I think eventually you'd just fall over and you wouldn't be able to get up because you're wearing cross-country skis.
That is accurate.
So how about, could you no, or do we call it on that? Is that the fight?
Give me one more.
I was gonna say, what if I have advantages?
Okay.
No more disadvantages for you, advantages for me.
Yeah, so I have
clean slate. Clean slate.
Right.
We've already determined that I would lose to you. So here's my advantage this time. I've plaster of Paris my wraps, and I have pepper all over my gloves.
The pepper doesn't bother me. The plaster is an issue.
Okay. How does the fight go differently? My blocks would hurt the shit out of your hands.
Yeah, and if you connect it, it's a big problem. Who was the boxer that got caught doing that? Not just years.
Somebody got caught doing that. Somebody got caught doing that against Tyson. Somebody got caught doing it against Ali. Somebody got caught against Frazier.
It happened somewhat recently. Who is that? I always forget this boxer's name.
Yeah, there was one within maybe the last 3 years
I want
that
to say
got caught.
10 years.
So you think that would cause enough of a problem for you if I put
Yeah,
plaster on my
it's
wraps?
and Margarito in 2009. That's right, against Shane
Okay,
Wilson.
yeah, 12 years.
Yeah, I do think that would cause
I do too.
a big
I
issue.
mean, I haven't thrown in a long time, but if I had an adequate time to actually prepare,
Mhm.
I could throw hard enough with some plaster of Paris
Well, and frankly, if we both put
but you
in
could still take me down.
possibly, but if we both put in 12-week MMA camps, I would have zero confidence in myself because I'm not very good at jujitsu. I've had moments, kind of like we were talking about, and when I say kind of like, I want to be very clear, nothing like at all, but kind of like how we were talking about Max Holloway and striking, and maybe something clicked for him. There have been moments in jujitsu where something has clicked for me, and then that was immediately taken away when someone more experienced got down there with me. So if we both had a 12-week camp, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't want to find out, and it's not something I ever really think about.
Hey, I don't either. And you know what? I think that this says something else, which is our the listener who posed this question now sees that we are actually
That's right.
pretty evenly matched and the importance of training.
Yep.
So yes, we have a couple more questions.
Let's do it.
I like that one. This one also, it looks like might pertain to something we talked about already. With the recent announcement of Rodriguez Holloway in July and how dominant Max looked, I wanted to know your thoughts on what you think the betting line would be approaching fight week, and if you need to put the approaching fight week, and what you would need the line to be to put 100 on Yair. So this guy obviously think Max is going to dominate.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Okay.
Oh well, that wasn't the fucking question. I gotta learn to read, Dom.
Go ahead. What do you think?
I would put $100 on Yair if he was plus 250 or higher.
You know what? Plus 250 is the number I had in mind too.
If it's too close to, he will have to get lucky to win,
I
and he
like
can.
yeah, definitely. I like the 2.5 times payout. Um, and you know, you mentioned luck. One of my jujitsu coaches says we don't wish each other good luck. We wish each other good skill because we don't believe in luck. I don't think the line will be plus 250 for Yair. It's not a big enough fight to get a line like that. Max is the public fighter. So I'm going to put him at minus 175 is where I think it's going to at least open with him as the favorite because people remember the performance. Vegas remembers the performance. He's the public fighter. So I'll put Yair right around the plus 150 mark.
Are there odds yet? I want to look.
There probably is. While you're looking up that, are you familiar with the when I say public fighter or public team, you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. Fill me in.
Okay. So the public fighter or public team is the bigger name. It's your casual sports fan who's in Vegas for the weekend. Oh, I've heard of Max Holloway. I'll bet on him. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Your casual sports fan has probably heard of Max Holloway. Your casual sports fan has probably not heard of Yair Rodriguez. So that's what I mean when I say public name. The Lakers are a public team. The Cowboys, the Green Bay Packers, the New York Yankees, the big name stuff, the Dodgers.
Yeah. Well, Dom, we might have to go to Vegas now.
Uh-oh.
Because they have Max at a minus 375.
Whoa.
And Rodriguez at plus 300. That is okay. That is a
who is that? Caesars bet. or
Bet Online.
Okay.
That to me is a good bet. I think that those odds are going to shift.
Plus 375 for Yair?
Plus 370, plus 300 for Yair.
Okay.
Minus 375 for Max. But I mean, that is not a very good bet for Max, but that is a hell of a good bet for Yair because he's the type of guy who can do that.
We'll have to keep an eye on that one. I'm going to be in Vegas very soon. I might have to throw a futures bet on that.
I might have to throw money your way. Is that illegal for me to even offer that?
No, not at all.
Okay, cool.
That's I'm glad we didn't look up the lines before we talked about that. That is
Me too. That's
plus 300.
plus 300. Plus 3. That's tasty. Next question. Big fan of the podcast. Thank you, Ryan. It was from Ryan.
We're
Ryan,
big fans of yours.
we're big fans of yours. Come on the Pretty Neat podcast.
Come on the Pretty Neat podcast.
With the recent retirement of Paul Felder
Yeah, who cares?
and his transition to commentating,
he was already doing that.
how would you rank former current fighters turned commentators, and which current fighters would make good commentators in the future?
So this is easy. It's Daniel Cormier 1. I think Bisping 2.
What do you like about Cormier as a commentator?
I kind of like everything about Cormier as a commentator. I know I'm not the first to say it, but I think the chemistry he has with Anik and Rogan is really good. He's just out of the game enough that he's still fought or interacted with everybody.
Okay. Yeah.
He can tell you, he had we talked about it 2 weeks ago when Oliveira and Michael Chandler were fighting. DC said something like, you don't want to let these jiu-jitsu guys get started because once they get started, it's already too late. And it's that kind of insight that I think makes your casual fan like pick up their phone and be like, what does he mean when he says that? And then you realize like,
Sure.
That's a very serious, very dangerous place to be in, to have a guy like Charles Oliveira pinned to your back. So, and granted, then fair. Maybe you can understand why what Michael Chandler was able to do to get out of that was so impressive, right? So,
yeah,
I think DC, I think Dominic Cruz is pretty good. I actually think Paul Felder is good. Bisping is good. I think all the current ones are good. Yeah. I'll go first for current fighters that I think would be good commentators. Holly Holm.
Holly Holm would be a good
commentator. Holly Holm would be a good commentator. I think
Hey, well, I'm gonna
Kamaru Usman, I think, would be a fantastic commentator.
Oh yes, he's really good. Yeah, he's very good.
I think Cody Garbrandt would be a fantastic commentator.
I think at some point.
Wonder Boy for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just start adding on with you.
Okay.
I'll say that DC is definitely one of my favorite commentators. I prefer DC when he is with Rogan and Anik. I don't like listening to DC when he's with some of the other people who you named already.
Okay.
Like when he's with Cruz, their banter doesn't work well.
So they know each other too well. Right?
Yeah, that's probably all it is. I'm a huge fan of Mike Bisping as a commentator. His humor's on point. I like the way he's no nonsense with the way he explains things. He also likes to re-explain some of the more analytical detail that DC provides or Cruz provides sometimes. You know, he might turn it around and be like, you're talking about a guy getting punched in the face, like
right.
That was a shitty accent, but
I liked it.
So I like them. I think Mike Chiesa is one of the better analysts that is out there already.
Okay. Yeah,
he might be my top. I think he is my top. Mike Chiesa is my favorite MMA commentator.
All right.
And I mean, he's getting his groove in terms of charisma down, but he's learning that skill just like a martial art too, in my opinion. I think he's going to be a really great commentator in the future.
I think Anthony Smith is pretty good when they have him on the discussion table.
I forgot about Anthony Smith at the discussion table. Really, really, really concise with his points.
Do you know what it is, really? I think and this is maybe to your point with DC, but I think Bisping falls into this a little bit, and Paul Felder for sure falls into this. The thing is, someone like a John Jones, someone like an Amanda Nunes, even an Usman or an Adesanya, although Adesanya did commentate, I think, on the Jake Paul Ben Askren fight, didn't he? He commentated on one of those celebrity fights. The true greatness, like Michael Jordan would be a horrible commentator because he can't relate to what most fighters or in Jordan's case, basketball players are going through. So what makes Paul Felder good is that he was never, I think he competed for a title and didn't win. Right. So he knows the amount of work and effort and training and dedication that it takes just to get there. And he had to work harder. Not that he is a harder worker, but he had to work harder relatively than even a guy like John Jones because he doesn't have the physical gifts, right?
Yeah.
So that you kind of want, and now Holly Holm, of course, has been a champion, right? Sort of decorated fighter, but I just think she just seems like someone who would be good at it. I don't know. I haven't heard her talk that much. Whereas I think someone like Rose, probably not. And I also think Rose would have zero interest in doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe a
I
guy
really
like,
liked Holly. Oh,
see, I think Wonder Boy too
Wonder Boy
would be
would be
just
really.
phenomenal.
Wonder Boy is excellent. He looks great. Good
Yeah.
charisma. Come on, he's Wonder Boy. Probably will be a commentator.
Mhm.
Carla Esparza.
Okay, yeah.
Carla Esparza would be a good commentator.
Yep.
Yeah. Damn, there's a lot
We're
of
big
good
Carla Esparza fans. By the way.
Yeah, there's a lot of big ones.
Yeah.
That was the last question that
Okay.
we had received in our mailbag, which, by the way, everybody, you can go to the prettyneatpodcast.com and hit the punching bag right in the middle of the website. It says mailbag on it. When you hit
What
that
else can you find on the prettyneatpodcast.com?
You can find merch that we have too. We have
Merch?
shirts and stickers and all that type of cool
That's
shit.
right.
And it goes to support our incredibly addictive gambling habits. And I gotta say, I got $100 I need to go put on Yair. Shit.
That's for damn sure.
We did get one other question.
Okay.
But it was via text and it was more on the side. And it was just whether or not we were going to be expanding to other platforms besides audio podcasts, and that being YouTube if we're going to do videos, or Twitch if we're going to do stuff there.
Yep.
And the answer is yeah. We think those things are pretty neat. We probably will. We already have a YouTube. The podcasts are up there. You can go check those out. Just search for the Pretty Neat Podcast. And we do have a Twitch, and maybe we'll start putting some stuff up soon.
Stay tuned for that.
Yeah, we definitely want to talk to you guys, and that's a way we can do it. So yeah, that was the mailbag this time around. So if you ever have questions, head over to the prettyneatpodcast.com, click the mailbag, and then send us a question. Or you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, all those things.
Let's wrap it up if you don't mind. Do you
Sure.
have any call outs from June 5th's fight night that you want to talk about? Any highlights?
You know what? I was gonna say we do have fights coming up to talk about.
Okay, let's do it.
Well, you know what, the headliner.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be fun. Heavyweights are fun.
Yeah, heavyweights are two, main and co-main.
Yeah, Marcin Tybura, Walt Harris. I love Walt. I want to see Walt
who
win.
Who doesn't love Walt Harris?
You can't not love Walt.
Yeah.
The other fight I'm really interested in is Santiago Ponzinibbio and Miguel Beza, and the reason is Ponzinibbio had that ring rust failure when he came back, and he was on a tear before that. I mean, he was a fucking nightmare. He beat Magny, he beat Perry, he beat Gunnar Nelson. I mean, he beat everybody. So yeah, I want to see what happens with him coming back, and he's fighting an undefeated prospect. So
I always love the undefeated prospect versus the sort of wily veteran.
Yeah, and I mean, he's 27, and Ponzinibbio is 27-4. That is an amazing record.
26-4.
Oh, okay. And then Miguel is 10-0. So that's gonna be that's really the fight that I'm really, really excited about. Montana De La Rosa is always really fun. Ilir Latifi's fun if he's hitting people.
Yep.
This one just seems like it's gonna be a fun card, but there's really no big names or big implications, or
no, there's not.
It's just a fun fight night, and it's nice because there's no other fights except for Tough, which is also coming back today.
Yeah. Today on ESPN Plus. We're definitely going to have opinions on that next week. I think we can have some fun conversations around that show while it's on its run here. I don't think this is the most exciting fight night, but I do think it's, I mean, anytime you've got a Rosenstrike and a Walt Harris and even a Tybura or Sakai, I mean, nobody doesn't like watching heavyweight fights, right? Let me use a double negative there. Nobody doesn't like doing that. So I'm here for it. And why not? They're not asking for a pay-per-view fee for it. So
yeah.
I had one other thing actually to
Oh,
to step
okay.
on my own words.
No.
ESPN posted an article. I don't know if you saw this. And
Uh-huh.
its headline is, "Hey MMA, it's time for a few changes." Now, I'm going to quickly go through them with you, and because we actually talked about some of this. So number one is judges to learn numbers other than 10 to 9. We disagree.
Mm-hmm.
Or bring in judges familiar with the inside of a cage. We absolutely agree with that. Referees need to really enforce the rules. I feel like I've been saying this since the genesis of
Right?
this show, and I'm going to keep saying it.
They tell him to
You
let go, to not grab the cage before they go in.
eye pokes, groin strikes, all this crap. And we've seen a lot of this recently, kind of slow fights down, right?
Yeah,
Number four, what's the score? Let fighters know where they stand. We agree.
we agree.
And make the belts mean something is number five. I I think they do mean something. What are we talking about? Maybe stop giving away an interim, but you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then number six here, this one says the fight we've all been waiting for, don't make us wait so long. I'm pretty sure they're talking about Jones Francis. I think the UFC is light years ahead of everybody else when it comes to getting fights to happen. So what do you think about that?
Repeat your question. Reword it.
Do you think they need to do a better job of not making the fans wait so long?
No, no. I really think that they need to be a little bit clearer in their lines of succession and their rankings. They need some help with the rankings, and they need to really maybe almost go more brackety. But I mean,
Yeah.
you could find yourself in a position where everybody's just fighting each other over and over and over, which I mean we're kind of already in, but at the same time we've been getting enough new blood. It's
Mhm.
been good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but a lot of what the article's saying is stuff we already agreed on.
I don't necessarily agree with this, but I don't know if I disagree. We'd have to break this down later. Basically, the fighters need a union.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe. Speaking of, these next two are kind of tied together. Friend of the show, Sam Alvey, talked about this. Number 8 is if you add more weight classes, you get more champions. And number 9 is cut down on weight cuts. I sort of just surface level agreed with these two things.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because I'm so used to there being 11 different belts for every 3 pounds in boxing. But Sam really kind of talked me off of that. What do you think?
He did. He did kind of talk me off of that as well. I think maybe you could round it a little bit. You could have I don't know, you could have a 75.
Because it goes from what, 65 to 85. That seems like a jump. I think every 10
No,
pounds is better than
it
every
goes
20.
55, 70, 85.
There's no 65?
No.
Okay, so boxing has a 65.
Yeah, there should be a 65 and a 75.
55,
Add it,
65,
add,
75,
yeah,
85.
do your 55 lightweight and then do a 65
Yeah,
cruiserweight
I don't
and
really
then
care
do
what
a
you call it.
75 welter.
You could call 85 catch weight,
Yeah, whatever.
and then
Well, that's
and then
middleweight.
maybe you. Oh yeah, okay, fine. But then maybe you jump to 205, not 95,
Yeah, I'd say skip 95 because that
and
under
keep that at light
200,
heavyweight.
that under 200, that 85 to 200, that's where
Yeah.
those 85ers are going to be after they cut that weight. And that
Yeah.
might be the only weight class you have issues in besides
Yep.
205.
Now I do
But you
really
could put a capper on heavyweight at 225 and do super heavyweight. 245.
I disagree.
Really?
I think the 265 heavyweight is perfect. And in fact, Joe Rogan was just talking about this on a show the other day. You can't have a super heavyweight. One, they wouldn't have enough fighters, and two, it would just be weird. I think the heavyweight division
Yeah,
is
you do
fine.
go from like big to fat pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, yeah.
We're looking at you, Chris Barnett. And number 10, I love this one. This is something that I wish more sports would do. European soccer has this completely figured out. Cross promotions.
Hey, yeah. Have some Bellator on UFC
That's
champ.
right.
One on
That's right. Why not?
Well, that does sort of encroach on your admiration of the UFC's sole control. they would have to give some of that up.
Maybe, but ultimately, yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I admire the way
lot.
they do it, and I love it, but I'm not saying it's the only way. So European
But
soccer,
they would be giving up. Like they would be giving up to.
it's not to
whoever.
say they would lose fighters. They would probably just have to pay them.
They would lose money. Why should they share with Bellator when they're going to bring in 90% of it?
So yes, and the
Unless
split,
you put that in the contract.
and the split would be 85-15 or 90-10. And the UFC knows that, and so does Bellator. But 10% of a big UFC card is 100% of the biggest Bellator card.
Yeah.
So Bellator would do it. And European soccer has this nailed, man. There are major teams in 5-6 countries over there that have massive fan bases, and players move between them, and it works.
I'd love to see Demetrius Johnson fight Davison Figueiredo. I think
After
that
he
would be
loses to
awesome.
Brandon Moreno.
Good point. I'd love to see him fight Brandon Moreno.
Okay, good.
I like that. What do you want to say to send us off?
Well, I appreciate the mailbag questions. That was a lot of fun, especially for a non-fight week.
Yeah, non-fight week. We'll do that again, but send them in. We'll answer them when there's a couple to answer.
That's right. ThePrettyNeatPodcast.com, ThePrettyNeatPodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, ThePrettyNeatPodcast@gmail.com. Fun address to mail stuff too. Even
That's right.
memes.
Send the memes.
Send us out.
You send us out. Go ahead.
Biden Harris 2024. I love you, buddy.
Love you too.
Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Yeah.